I want to just make a couple of caveats before we start with content. The first one is that all of the concepts we talk about can be applied from pre-K to 12. So hear what you're hearing and be applying it in your head. Jot down your questions if we don't have time in this session, because every session is followed by a discussion. And the discussion section, we try to split you a little bit so that we can focus on different age groups. So write down your questions because we'll answer them in the discussion time. We said that. Feel free to ask questions.
Sure you don't want me to interrupt you?
No. Mm-mm. So what I want to talk about first, we're getting into content now. What I want to talk about first is setting the stage to be successful. And our schools do a very excellent job with spiritual formation. Our schools do have a very rich Catholic environment. You can almost feel it in the air when you walk into any of our schools. This is the last school I hadn't visited. I got to go to Manila last year and see our 3 schools in Manila, and that was really cool. But even walking into Manila, where the culture is different, I knew I was in an RC school. So we're going to focus more on the academics, but I want you to remember that we're talking about integral formation. So when we're forming the intellect, we are simultaneously forming the other dimensions, right? None of this happens by itself. But one of the things that in Catholic education, not just in an RC school, our church has been very clear, from writings of the Holy Fathers to make sure that we understand that the parents are the first formators of their children, and that success for a student cannot happen without us also forming the parents. And parents are coming from different places in their faith journey, different knowledge, the way they were parented, the way they think they should parent it, what the fad is of the day, right? And so it's our job to not only love our students, but to wrap our arms around that family so that the whole family grows at the same time. It's so essential to being successful. So we have to understand that students exist in a family, and they come to us in a context of a family. And what's happening in their family life is definitely going to impact their school life. And so part of loving them is understanding where they're coming from. The second thing is we want to help parents grow in their role by formative opportunities. That's not just the programs that we put on. Okay, if we put on parenting your preschooler, that's a great program, but that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is as we're having interactions with parents, we are gently guiding them in the right direction. No, your 3-year-old probably doesn't need a cell phone right now. We can talk about that in about 20 years. But, so it's that kind of that guiding, right? Especially first-time parents. I call my guinea pig daughter, that first one. It's really hard. You're learning how to be a parent, and you make so many mistakes. And you need guidance. And that was one of the beautiful things for me as a parent, to be around like-minded parents, to be around teachers who had the same focus. It was a beautiful part of our 15 years at Pinecrest with my kids. We need to implement regular, effective, and purposeful two-way communication with our parents, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to support at home what we're trying to do in the classroom. And so communicating with them is extremely important. Pope Francis says that parents need to take up the essential role, and schools do not replace parents but complement them. And we shouldn't grow weary. This is Pope Francis too. We should not grow weary of encouraging and accompanying our families. So there's 2 kinds of families, right? This is what it seems like. We've got this family on the left: hire a tutor, a nanny, and outsource your parenting. I send them to school, I pay tuition, that's all I'm supposed to be doing. Or you have this group, the helicopter group, right? And so they're zeroing in, and I also call them, I call them Harvard without hard work, meaning they want their kids to get into Harvard, but they don't want you to challenge their kids. So you sort of, the sweet spot's right here. And so what we're trying to do is this, bring them in so that we have a good relationship with the parents and we're working towards the same goals. So these are the different ways that we work with our parents. Again, formation programs, we need to make sure that, that we are providing communication with parents, a weekly email. Is that something that's expected of you guys, to do a weekly email? And that we have parent-teacher conferences, and during those parent-teacher conferences, and we could do a whole thing on parent-teacher conferences, right? But during those conferences, your goal as the teacher is to help the parent have a realistic expectation of their child, number one. And then number two, I'm gonna work on this at school, you're gonna work on this at home, right? So you're trying to bring that meeting to resolution that you guys are gonna work on together. And then student-specific meetings. At about the 5th grade level, students are definitely ready to be part of a parent-teacher meeting. You can prep the student ahead of time. Hey, I asked mom and dad to come in because I know you're struggling with this, and all together, we are your team. And so we want to problem solve and help you. So we really want you to start bringing kids into those discussions. And like Margaret said, with the formation plans, goal setting, those kinds of things, that's our partnering with our parents to make sure we go forth united. Something that's important is parents often have an unrealistic expectation of developmental tasks, of what students can do at what level. Either they think that that's too hard for Johnny to put his socks in the laundry bin, or I want Johnny to, pack his lunch, iron his clothes, it can be like this. So part of our role is to be experts at the level we teach developmentally. And we're going to talk about this over and over again. We have to know our developmental level. We have to know it's from the spiritual standpoint. We have to know it from an academic standpoint. We have to know it from a human standpoint to be able to help these kids become the apostles that the world needs. So know your developmental level and help your parents know your developmental level. And this is really important, which is why it's in gold. Parent support does not lessen as children grow. It only changes. So one of our struggles, right, if you teach in the middle and high school, is to keep the parents engaged at the right level. Okay, we don't want you to bring his lunch when he's a senior and he forgot it. We want him to learn that lesson, right? However, you can't be totally hands-off. You do need to know where your student's struggling. You do need to be part of the solution. So in the high school, it seems like it's over or under, and we can't find that sweet spot. But we have to continue to pull parents in. They are not done parenting after 5th grade. There's a whole lot more parenting going on, right? So that's a really important part there.